There is nothing more frustrating than having your favorite jeans company sell out the jeans you've been buying for years, get them back in Duluth, and you get the plastic bag jeans in the mail, put them on, and give them the benefit of the doubt that maybe there's some breathability built in, even though it clearly feels like you're wearing a Ziploc baggie, basically, with some texture. Go to an event where it's hot AF, and just, you're in a plastic bag, Duluth. I
wonder which brand it is.
And then you go look at the reviews on the jeans and you're like, everybody else is pissed off too. And when that happened, I thought, it's harder and harder and harder to find natural fibers that breathe. And Opalyn and I were like talking back and forth about things we could talk about, and she's going to talk about some of that and other things today. Before we do that, though, I do want to mention pedalpalmtea.com, which is Jenny's tea brand that did launch during this workshop, has another iced tea for you to try right over there. And it is Leos's favorite so far. So check it out. We've got a QR code here if you want to pre-order, and Rebecca will put it in the link. So they've been putting tea out about this time every day to keep you awake. I'm assuming this one doesn't have caffeine, though.
No.
It does not. It is caffeinated.
No, caffeine-free.
Caffeine-free, but it can still, it's hibiscus. It can give you a boost. Hibiscus is also something that's great on a hot day for hydration.
The other card has the ingredients if you want.
And the other card, you can check out the iced tea. And with that, Opalyn Brenger. So, you meet these people who are really good teachers, like Opalyn and Alan. And I haven't met Chase yet, but I'm sure he's a great teacher. And you wonder, why do they not have 1.2 million followers per person? Because when you see other people trying to teach these things, you're missing it. And Ola is one of those people, too, where I've learned a ton from you and able to talk at a very high level on the topic, but able to make it understandable for people coming to it for the first time. And to me, that is the spirit of a true teacher. Is you can make it relatable. So I love that about you, and I also appreciate all the help you've given me in the last month. She came early because she heard I was one-armed and helped me get a lot of setup.
I was here the day you became
Yeah,
one-armed.
she was here the day I became one-armed. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
So we're gonna hear about fibers. So
yeah.
She made the Estuffinca. She made the biochar. She knows how to weld.
Is there anything she can?
No, she's been sitting here with a drop spindle spinning the whole time. So now let's go into fiber.
Yeah. So welcome. Like Nicole said, we have been talking about like what might you all want to learn about fibers, and so like the idea what the first clothing item was.
Fig leaf.
Yeah, biblically fig leaf. Oh, that's a great one. Socks, keep your feet warm. So what were they made out of? So fig leaf, hides, buckskin, nettles, plant fibers. So what fibers currently can we take from seed to plant, maybe to animal, to fiber? What are some of those, what do we call some of those fibers? Flax, cotton. I don't know if you can do bamboo at the homestead. You can, okay.
Wool.
Yep, sheep. A lot of camelids. Angora goats produce mohair. Angora rabbit fiber we call Angora. Alpaca. Dog. I've never worked with horsehair, but.
It's like if you need something really stiff.
Yep.
You need a stiff collar. Yeah.
Nice.
Rabbit.
So there's a lot, a lot of animals that we can process their fiber, and a number of plants. So the two most common plants, I heard flax and cotton. Those can both be made at the homestead scale. It's a lot of work. In the 1800s, you generally got like one set of clothing new per year. A lot of hand-me-downs, a lot of taking care of your textiles. And now, in the age of mass market and fast fashion, I bought this particular tunic not less than 2 months ago. And it already has a lazy hem revealed. So we've got they didn't properly turn the hem. So that's something that I need to fix, or I'm going to have a hole in the hem of my skirt. I've had another one of these for a couple years, and there are several places where it would get frayed at the hem. So I rolled another hem and put another seam in. So we're going to talk a little bit about which textiles and what do they do and what do they put in them to make them work better. Yeah, I saw some smirks. And then we're going to talk a little bit about fiber structure, a tiny bit about fiber maintenance, and then we're going to go outside and we're going to burn some of these textiles and see what they do. So if you don't know what's in your clothing, and you can cut out a little scrap, cotton produces ash. Wool doesn't like to burn at all. The plastic variety, they melt into a blob. So what happens with all of those fibers if you get caught in a house fire?
You burn.
You now have plastics embedded in burn scars and wounds. And my mom, I was not allowed to play with fire. So the estufa finca and the fire, I was not allowed to play with fiber as much as I wanted to when I was little, because several years before I was born, my mom was caught in a house fire. And she was burned by the heat. The flames never touched her, but she had 2nd and 3rd degree burns over a lot of her upper body and back. And then she has grafting scars where they took healthy skin and put it where there was not so healthy skin. So fire, on the one hand, I've struggled with it from the family history part, but I love what fire can do for us and with us. And so let's make sure that our clothing can help us interact with fire and life and work. And so, so what's in what you're wearing right now? I'm not wearing cotton anything. Yay, cotton. Okay. Who else has got some cotton on? All right. Who's got some wool on? Nice. Some socks, some wool shirts. Nice. Awesome. Anybody wearing linen today?
I think so.
Yeah. You have some linen? Nice. So people.
I'm wearing
Yeah. I am. Yeah. So one of the complaints with linen is that it wrinkles. So we started putting all these coatings. It's breathable. It's great until you get it wet and then go into a cold environment or in a cold environment. So you get all sweaty, but you're outside working really hard and can't retreat. It's great in the summer. Personal swamp coolers. I would go and dunk my shirts and then I'd go outside and do what I needed to do when it's 80 or 90 degrees outside. When it's 30 degrees outside, that will cause problems. Then you wear wool. Wool is still insulative and will keep you warm even when it's wet. So there's all this hype. I'm traveling to Peru in a couple weeks, so I keep getting all of these what to wear on the plane, and it's all this I know. I get ads. I get social media ads, and it's wear this and don't wear cotton and do this and for all of these different reasons. So you really have to pick your goal. What do you want to do? Do you want to be comfortable when it gets hot and cold and all of these different temperatures?
Sorry, I was talking about alpaca.
Yeah. So before we talk a little bit about goals, I wanted to touch base on some of our general clothing options, as well as some of the construction techniques. So this is a common pair of men's jeans, and I specify men's jeans because anybody have a guess?
Well, that's denim. It's not mostly
stretchiness that the women's jeans have.
It's denim. It's 100% cotton. Our non-cotton materials might be the thread and the zipper and the rivets.
They've got pockets.
Oh, they've got pockets. Yes.
Girl pocket.
Nice. Real pockets. All right. Yeah.
And the thighs aren't going to wear out.
No, that's not
Well,
happening.
that does happen.
Not as fast as the other one.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is a pair of women's jeans. Like, yeah, the pockets are
30%.
tiny, 20 or 30% spandex and polyester, so they'll stretch and move with you. They don't feel as good. This is going to melt if I am supervising a conservation burn pile. This will not. I have a pair of oversized denim overalls so that most of my body is covered with fabric that is not touching my skin so that I have heat transfer and air gap. Thank you. Because that's what you need when you're managing a big fire. I have really decorative, cute, squirrely pockets, but they're like, they're this deep.
That's how you lose your $20 bill. You put it in the top.
Yeah. So these are partially plastic. These are 100% cotton. So we've got knit things. I know, isn't it adorable? So I'm going to pass this one around. If you are looking for yarn and you don't want to go and spend the $22 a skein, if you pay attention to the seams and learn how to take them apart, you'll have 4 or 5 pieces of thread out of any garment. So this little guy will give you some yarn. Most kids' clothes is made out of cotton because they know that if kids sleep through the fire, they're not going to have plastic melted to them. So a lot of kids' clothes are cotton. So this shirt that is passing around, this sleeve came off super easy. And we're going to cut this up and it'll be part of our burn test. This I'm going to start talking a little bit about what to look for when you're buying things. So 10 years ago, Alan would buy these shirts and they'd last for 3 or 4 or 5 years. And now they're starting to wear in interesting places. So at the top of this little sailboat, there's a hole where these 8 layers of fabric come together at the base of this collar. There's a hole. And these are not repairs that can be easily managed, especially in a knit shirt like this. We can stop the damage from getting worse, but it's definitely going to be, the shirt that you wear when you're going to be at home on the computer and the arms.
Yeah, there a lot of shirts are doing that just now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that happens.
Now,
Yep.
Every single place where that's happening, that's where the weave has been interrupted by something else, right?
So they're making the seam allowances too small, is my opinion of what's going on. So you don't have enough fabric to prevent the material from just like pulling out of that seam.
And what about the edge of the collar? Because I have shirts that the edge of the collar just like
Yep.
the tip.
Oh, not this one.
Yeah, the tips of mine are just like shredded.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but right here along the base of the collar.
Same thing.
Yeah.
And with the embroidered thing there, that was
Yep.
the same thing. They went too tight on the underlayment when they did the embroidery, and that's what caused the rip right there.
Yeah, they probably trimmed the underlayment for the embroidery and nicked the fabric. So hang on just one second back. Mama Sauce, did you have something else to add?
Everybody else.
I heard you start.
Yes,
And it's all caught.
the seam allowance is part of the trouble, but there's a lot of friction.
Layers of fabric. So it's going to pull and stretch.
Here, it's where the seam is.
Mm-hmm.
It's been pierced so many times and the fabric has been thinned over the manufacturing years to the point that it can't stand 4 or 5 needle pricks without making a hole.
We're also transitioning to a heavier duty fabric from a lighter weight fabric.
And it stays there and the other pulls.
Do you have any experience with hemp?
I do not. I am fascinated and interested, but
I've seen advertisements for new modern hemp shirts that are like indestructible.
Yeah.
They claim
You can get
They're
hemp
very
yarn for sure.
they're very
Yeah.
expensive, but
I have some hemp garments, and they're made by Rawganic. But what you find is that they're using much heavier fabrics, and they're using much larger seam allowances. So it's like they're using hemp, which is a very durable material. They're using heavier, and they're designing it to last.
First class.
Yes.
Right.
And I mean, this is entirely intentional. These shirts, it's like the same brand, like that Nautica brand there that I would buy 10 years ago. The fabrics and everything else. It's very intentional so that after a year or two, it falls apart. You got to buy a new one. It's very intentional.
And obsolescence.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you think it's intentional, not by lack of
Yes.
institutional knowledge passed on? There aren't enough people at this
Oh
time.
no,
It's a bottom line. Like they're finding out how much cheaper they can make each square inch of fabric, and they've gone too far. And so hopefully, in a few years when you buy your next batch, they'll be a little bit thicker and they'll last a little bit longer, but maybe not.
People have to tell them.
Right.
Or they have to go to another brand.
Right.
Yeah, they've got to vote with their
Duluth.
And so pigmail.
So we've got a cute piece of flannel. So this is a woven structure, and again, a kid's shirt because I found them at a thrift store. And then we've got some knit structures. So these are both cotton, so we'll be able to cut these up and do a burn test. And then just for comparison, I wanted to bring out a piece of polar fleece. So when you see Alan walking around in something that looks like polar fleece, it's not. As far as I know, like just about every piece of clothing that Alan has is a natural fiber. So I wanted to have this as an opportunity. I really hope we don't burn very much of it because it's yucky. Letty Lou, you're making my faces for me. Yeah.
All the traditional fleeces are petroleum products,
Right.
and they will burn. So the one you saw me wearing earlier is actually organic cotton, and that came from Organic as well. So, yeah.
So the other thing, go ahead.
Bamboo, because there's bamboo sheets and there are some bamboo.
There's bamboo yarn.
So there is, I'm not very familiar with it. Similar to other petroleum based, it's extruded. So like lyocell and tencel. A lot of the bamboo yarns it's an extrusion or extraction process that's heavily chemically ridden. So it's not a fiber that I'm willing to work with very much. So it's a little bit outside my purview, but it's also really fascinating what can be done with all of these different fibers. So yeah, not yet.
Well, like flax and some of the others are grasses, right? Like bamboo is a grass.
Right.
So you can process it into a fiber, but it's more involved because it starts off more woody to begin with, more lignite
Right.
and such.
I'll be there in a second, April. Over here.
I bought a fox hat this winter at the Pennsylvania Farm Show,
Yeah.
and I'm from Florida, so I have I'm not good in cold, and I wanted to work outside long during the winter, and it kept me so warm, and it improved my hearing, the flaps, and then in that, by wearing it, other women, the laundry mat woman, another woman from hockey were like, I want to take out my great grandparents' fur coats and wear them. Because they're all wearing polyester and everyone's cold, especially at the hockey rink. And I encouraged them to start wearing them, but they were afraid because they didn't want people to judge them. Do you think there was a coordinated campaign perhaps to make these natural furs
There's a war on hemp, that was for sure.
and humane so that we shift to polyester and that becomes I don't know if that's a good question to ask, but
Yeah, it's a fair question. So most of the animal cruelty videos that I've seen as far as a lot of them are propaganda. If you can see the person's shoes who's part of making the video and they're shiny, they're not the person who works with the animal, and they're there treating the animal poorly to get video. That's been my experience. My understanding is it's really hard to make a profit when you're being cruel to your animals. Like the dairy industry, they're not going to produce the high volume of milk if they're being treated poorly, if their foot hurts, if they're, if they're in a really stressful environment, if they're being abused. I have seen people, certain breeds of Angora rabbits are intentional, you pluck them. And so when you see people like grabbing a whole giant handful and the rabbit is screaming, that is somebody being cruel to the animal to discourage us from working with natural fibers. There's a lot of issues with working with fibers from the animal versus working with the skin with the hair on. And so if you're going to kill the animal, then you don't have to treat them as well because you don't have an ongoing product. So there may well be, like, just like puppy mills, like there are people who breed and raise dogs really, really well. And there's people who just want that $300 ticket at the end of the month. So it, you know, a lot like farming and buying your food, like get to know your farmer, get to know your breeder, you know, and when the garments are 50 or 100 years old, like whatever happened. And I think it's, you know, the only way that we can honor the life of that animal now is to wear and use that.
No.
All right, so this is a genuine Filson garment out of Seattle. And so this is the one you wear all the time. He went somewhere else to get his other jacket. I wonder if he's going to go to his wool jacket. So this Alan wears all the time, and it's still new. Like, I know that he's worn it to every PDC that I've learned from him. So if we turn it inside out, this is a very special seam where there is no raw edge turned in. Like, this is might be a French seam. It's similar to the jeans construction, where all the rolled ends are tucked inside, and so there's no possibility of fraying. And yeah. And then here's the cotton fleece, so 100% organic cotton.
That looks great.
Looks like your polyester fleece, but it's beautiful.
I can touch. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To touch it. It's like I searched for so long for a wool version, and I finally found this.
Alan's jacket. I can touch something that looks like fleece. It's just like,
Yeah.
Yeah, that feels
I
like.
don't have my weather wool.
I was wondering if that's what you're going to get.
Yeah, I don't have my weather wool.
Yeah, that's fun.
amazing. And that's from Rocky.
That's from Organic, yes.
Raw organic.
Raw Organic just got
you
so
just
many
changed
new
my
customers.
Yeah, this is Filson.
Get an affiliate.
Yeah, I have a number of Filson pieces. This, believe it or not, I've worn I don't know how many times. It's like this
Every
is
time I've ever seen you.
It's your uniform.
this is years and years old. This is probably 7-8 years old.
How do you spell Filson? Is it an
Filson.
Oh, somebody
Okay.
gave me a bunch of those shirts, like
Yeah.
those tags, and I was like, these are really like nice
Yes.
shirts. Yeah.
And you can also feel like the weight. This is their Alaska guide shirt. I'm not trying to sell things. I'm just like, I just found a few vendors. And the other one I'm going to tell you is if you want wool coats and garments, weather wool is like, I have a weather wool piece. It's ridiculous. It's $1,000 coat. But it's like, it's going to last. My grandchildren, if I had grandchildren, would be able to use it. It's like, I think the first time I showed it to Opalyn, she was like, oh my God. It's like,
this is a well-built jacket.
But that's where you look at the investment. Like, if I don't have to keep, I'm going to spend $1,000 in coats over 10 years.
Right.
Right.
yes.
I once, cry once.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a tiny bit of, this is technically raw fiber from a sheep. So this is, I'm not sure what breed, but this is fiber that's just been shorn off of an animal.
Is that my random box of wool?
That one is your random box of wool.
Came with the spinning wheel, by the way.
Yeah.
So that's why we don't know.
And then this is been processed. So this is ready to spin. It's been washed. And this one was probably, this one was combed, not carded. And I can go into how I know that just by looking at it. But this is ready to spin. And then a long time. This is a drop spindle, and this is how yarns and threads were made. And so I have some wool on here. When you do cotton, you have to do a massive amount of twists. So often it'll be done on a charka or a much smaller spindle because the staple length, the length of each fiber is shorter. So you have to take all of that into account. So
one of our viewers says the Filson Women's Division has been outsourced and the quality of women's clothing is vastly different from the men's.
So they have outsourced certain things overseas. They got complaints, and so now they label on their website whether it's U.S. made or overseas made.
Oh, okay.
So in most cases, that's what I've seen.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So April.
I got excited about all the wool that was washable. And then I learned that most of that wool is coated in polyester plastic so that it's washable. And I had already purchased, I don't know, a couple $100 worth because I had decided to buy all wool clothing.
Right.
So now I have wool underwear that's coated in plastic.
So what April's referring to is often called in the industry superwash. And it has been washed and treated. This is the first time I'm hearing that it's with a plastic, but it's definitely a chemical. So wool fibers are that each strand of fiber has a lot of spikes or the cuticle, and that's what makes it felt. So all of those little spikes together, and then they shrink. So if you will avoid superwash and don't put it in the agitator, don't put it in the dryer. Wash it by hand. Like that's why they say wash it by hand, dry it flat. It's not as easy as the scaremongers want you to think to felt your clothing, but it's very possible. It is doable. The dryer will do it, the tumbling and the heat. If your washing machine goes from a hot wash to a cold rinse, that will do it. So yeah, unfortunately, they keep trying to continuously poison and augment our clothing in ways that a lot of us would feel are not healthy choices. So, any other questions?
How can you tell the difference?
Between what?
Between carded and...
Oh, so when I just pulled it out a little bit, it's all super straight. Every single thread is going in the same direction. They're parallel strands. If it was carded, then it would generally be chaotic. It would still pull out nicely, but this will tend towards making a very fine yarn, whereas the carded that are much more chaotic when they get to this point make the fluffy, bulky Aran yarns. So it depends on if you want a summer weight sweater, which is really small diameter, it's not going to hold the heat, or a really bulky Aran winter. I'm going to go outside without having to put a coat on. Actually, I'm going to put my sweater on and go outside in Alaska for a couple hours and be fine. That's the difference. And it starts with fiber preparation. Before you start spinning, before you start knitting, like there are decisions made at each of those steps that will influence what you can do with the yarn that you make. Or, yeah.
So, as I'm on my quest to find more cotton clothes, I keep seeing stuff that says cotton modal. Have you seen that or heard of that or like actually know what it is? Because I'm like, I don't
know what modal is.
Well, I always Google terms like that to see what they are. So
Yeah.
I keep running into cotton weirdness.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is a special cotton blend that has...
like rayon or stuff, but they're claiming that it's cotton because like
It's 100% cotton modal.
Yeah,
right.
So it's like
it's like cheese food.
You
Look it up.
Yeah.
The cheese food is not
natural
cheese.
flavors.
Yeah.
You can't trademark cotton, right? You can't patent cotton. But if you've done something to it so that it is not natural cotton anymore.
Yeah, because there were dresses I used to buy that were cotton, and then I went to buy a new size. Didn't even look, and they're like, I look at the package, I'm like, something's wrong with my dress.
I feel like
and I
somebody
pull it out, and it's freaking.
So they'll say what it is if you look it up, and sometimes it's referring to how it's made or something, and it may
Like
not
the
be
weave- the
anything.
weave or knit structure.
Yeah, exactly. And
Cotton modal
some of the
is
tests she's about to show you.
Yeah.
cotton modal is a blend of
Nice.
cotton and modal fibers, combining
Make me some
softness and
pieces.
breathability of cotton with the silky texture of moisture wicking properties of modal. This
That's
fabric
all it is. Yeah, that's what I found. I was like, I don't know what the heck.
So modal is almost certainly going to be
This fabric,
a petroleum product.
this fabric is known for its durability, comfort, and eco-friendliness, making a popular choice for clothing like t-shirts and loungewear.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
So it's probably petroleum product.
Yeah.
Because they're not telling you what it is. So one of the things I know, you're going to hit the microplastics at some
Yeah.
point? Good.
Yeah. So 2 things before we go outside, and Leos is making us some samples that we can burn so that we can learn what are different, pieces, lots of them, a bunch of them.
Lots of pieces.
Yeah.
I have a knife. Do I need to start?
Yeah, you can help.
Sewing scissors here.
Great. Sewing scissors work. Well, those are pretty lightweight.
Very small.
Yeah, no. Let's use a knife or just rip up pieces. So,
Do you not believe in my sewing scissors?
do I, what?
Do you not believe in my
I-
sewing scissors?
She's used it.
I have, yeah, we'll put a pin in that one.
Sewing scissors.
So, sleeping. Really make an effort to find cotton. Wool mattresses, like if you're gonna change one thing in your bedroom, change your pillow, change your sheets. Long term, when you need a new mattress, see what you can do to find a wool or cotton futon or mattress, because that, when I sleep at Alan's house on a natural material bed,
Organic cotton and wool blend.
Oh, that's beautiful.
that bed, it's different than every other bed that I sleep on. And I sleep differently, and sometimes but when you're ready to make changes, like, do it incrementally. Don't like go and strip everything out of your house, but incrementally. So one last thing, there's a lot of talk about microplastics. So when you see ocean plastics, you see all these bottles and jars and jugs. When we're talking about microplastics, those are those tiny particles that are the size of silt and clay particles. 68% of those particles come from textiles and rubber tires.
There's those little tiny threads that break into little tiny pieces.
So when you put your clothes in the washer, those threads get agitated. When you put them in the dryer, you've got dryer lint.
That's that recycled
So,
material that you're talking
yeah. So,
Opalyn, the more dangerous ones are the micro ones that can cross the blood-brain barrier. And the average American has about a teaspoon size teaspoon, like plastic
Amount.
teaspoon, in their brain of this plastic, because it's so ubiquitous. And it's changing our hormones, it's destroying testosterone, it's
And you're exactly right. It's like the hormonal disruption of the microplastics is something that I think people just do not understand yet. There is a new Netflix documentary I did get backdoor access to so I could see it, but it's called the Plastic Detox. It's worth watching. And because they were just looking at one dimension, which was the reduction on human fertility of exposure to a lot of these endocrine disruptors. And they were looking at these from a lot of different directions, but microplastics are definitely one of them. And one of the main things they were doing was reducing all the different types of microplastic exposures for individuals and seeing the health consequences. So the fact is that in real life, your textiles, and that can include not just your clothes, but your carpets and things like that. All of these textiles are, along with tires, are the majority of our exposure.
Yeah.
And so part of the reason to think about it and what you're doing is because it's the highest leverage you have, that in your kitchen.
Yep.
Those are the two highest leverage places you have to reduce your exposure to yourself and your family of these endocrine disrupting chemicals.
Yeah.
I will just add that probably 80% of the women I see in practice are estrogen dominant.
Yeah.
So, if not more.
Yeah.
And then you add the fact that women are being told and men are being told to establish careers early on and not give birth until later, which results in a accumulation of these microplastics and toxins, which then thereby requires IVF or outside ways to try to get pregnant instead of
4 o'clock. We have a minute to go. We can burn these and see what happens. Which wool blanket?
The one I tell at the PDC?
No, I'm not sure I can tell your story.
Okay, that's a story. I'll tell it really quick.
Okay, so come on up here and tell the story, Alan. Here.
When I'm doing a 2-week intensive, I have at least, it's like I have all these different stories about like all the different ways to save your life.
Right.
And one of them is the wool blanket. Because if you're in a fire-prone environment, the number one thing you need to have with you in your vehicle is a 100% wool blanket, not petroleum line, but 100% raw wool blanket and a gallon of water. Okay? What you do is if you get caught in a wildfire situation, is as the wildfire's coming in, you use the water to wet one portion of the wool, you wrap it around you, and you breathe through the wet wool, okay? And this will absolutely save your life. The story was this. If you're familiar with eucalypt forest in Australia, they have some of the hottest, ridiculous fire, and there was a group of firemen who were out fighting the fires, and they got trapped, and they realized that the fire was going to come over them. And they tried several different ways. Some of them actually got into the they didn't survive.
Wow.
There was fire gear and so forth. The only person that survived had a 100% wool blanket and did exactly this. They wrapped themselves in this heavy wool blanket, wet it down, and breathed through it so that they wouldn't get the smoke. It filtered out the smoke. And that wool blanket was so fire resistant, and it also helped the radiant heat keep off of them so they didn't bake. And they breathed through it. And that literally he was the only one of like, I think 17 people. The other 16 didn't survive, and he survived. So
because if you're breathing that, then you end up with lung damage.
Yeah.
You end up
The guys that were in the creek, how did that not work?
Literally dried the creek as the fire came.
Yeah,
through.
probably
Burned them
cooked
out. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, we're talking hot. So anyway, it's like, this is, when we talk about using like, wool and working around fire and so forth with wool as like tending fire, your campfire, so it's like, that's what I use. You're going to see me in wool when I'm around a campfire and doing that kind of stuff for that exact reason, right? It is, it's the best thing in terms of a natural fiber for dealing with fire.
All right, let's go burn some stuff.
Burn some It's time.
Nicole's going to speak in about 20, 25 minutes. We're going outside to do one more thing.
What? Thank you so much. Why are you hobbling? Yeah, we dropped something. But I didn't miss it. That's important.
Yeah, that's not pure wool. Oh, yeah, it is. So pure wool is going to not smell very pleasant. But watch what happens when I torch it. It goes out. I'm torching the ends of these fibers. These are a lot of exposed, but it puts itself out. Yeah, but see, it's out. So if I get the ends of the fibers, it'll burn for a moment. But if I go to the middle, it smells like burning. Yeah. So it does not sustain a burn. So that's a distinguishing characteristic of wool. So now we've got some cotton. This is going to sustain a fire. Whew, man, this guy stinks. You can make charcloth. So you're going to have an ash. You're basically making a little bit of biochar right there. So to sustain a flame, cotton will.
Smells like burning marshmallows.
Yeah. And you'll have a little bit of ash and charred cloth.
And that's cotton.
This is cotton.
Are you saying that it's easier to put out than if you catch fire? The cotton?
So cotton doesn't melt. So you burn a polyester, it actively melts. You ever burned the end of a rope and then touched it? You've got plastic on your skin. So if you, I didn't grab the polyester, but if you all want it, yeah, Leah has got it. We can cut up that little red jacket and see what it does. But polyester is going to melt and stick and become embedded in the skin that it gets stuck to. Same with nylons. If you wear nylons and you find yourself in a fire, take them off. Get them off of your skin. Because dealing with burns is one thing, dealing with burns with embedded plastics.
Not to mention the fumes.
Yeah.
Well, right, so that's actually the next thing I was gonna bring up. So with the plastic, just like with a candle wick, you're gonna have stuff volatilizing as it's sitting and melting. So you have like an active flame because of that. That doesn't happen with these. You'll have the melting and then a candle wicking effect.
So this one doesn't want to sustain a flame, not much of a flame. But it's not producing ash, it's producing plastic, and it's stuck. Well, no, I didn't make it stick to the oh, there it is.
Yeah.
Right there, we've got some stuck to the table, so I'm able to pull it out.
And do you see that wispy smoke? Like, what does that remind you of? When you blow out a candle, what do you see? Right, you see this unburned chain of the hydrocarbons, right? As they're blowing away, that's the exact same thing. As that volatilizes.
What's interesting is that it was very well known back in the early nylon and so forth would actually burn, and women got caught with their leggings. And so they started to actually put chemicals into some of the polyesters to try to prevent them from just sustaining. They'll still melt that way. Right? So you can experiment, and there are still some polyesters that will burn more actively. Some have been formulated to try not to sustain their own flame.
So
they kind of have flame retardants, but the flame retardants are mostly toxic too.
Right. So here's cotton. This is combusting. It's got a little bit of smoke over here.
But it looks different.
It looks very different. It's not shrinking. So when we melted this guy, see how all that fabric moves? And it's melting. This is actually a really nice sustained combustion process. So again, this gray shirt is 100% cotton. That's a polyester fleece.
So basically, if you kept on fire cotton and pull it off, you probably don't have a bunch of it sticking to you.
Right, it's not going to stick to you.
It's continuing to burn you if lost.
Yeah, this one's 100%.
Yeah.
And it says right on it, not sleepwear. Do not use this sleepwear because it's illegal somewhere.
California,
It doesn't have the flame retardant. They've been putting, it was so hard for me to find clothes for my kids that didn't have flame retardant in it for sleep.
Yeah.
Like a seam liner of some kind?
Yep.
It's like rubber.
It's an elastic.
Yeah.
I should not be.
This is handy if you're trying to buy natural things for your home, like a rug.
Yep.
You could take one of the fibers from the rug, and if it's mixed, you'll
Yep.
get little, you just let it, don't touch it, let it dry. You'll have little beads on the end of the string.
Yeah.
And that means it's part polyester or something.
Yeah, so what April's indicating is we're comparing 100% cotton to 100% polyester. What happens if it's a blended fiber? Well, you'll get a mix of both reactions. So that's something, if you're wanting to test your carpet fibers, there may be some cotton or wool in there, but it's probably a lot of polyester, and you'll see it react differently.
And then all the modern carpets will have flame retardants.
Right.
They'll have flame retardants built in because they be compliant to be sold. So they don't go off and build over as easily.
Even
Right.
wool would have flame retardant.
Like wool carpet. In a carpet, yes.
Wool carpet. So I just realized.
Probably so. There's a lot of regulations around that now. It's actually it's the same thing with bedding. Like to go find bedding that does not have flame retardant built into it today, there's different regulations and they do vary by jurisdiction. But there's a lot of places where you have to have special medical exemption in order to get bedding without flame retardant.
Yep.
There are places online that sell it, but in some states they require a medical exemption.
Right.
For you to get it.
Yeah.
And all of that costs more money.
Yes.
Right.
To not have something.
All right.
Firemen are coming up with a lot of diseases because they wear the fire retardant clothing so often in their jobs. So.
Yep. So we're going to wrap this up. Happy to continue talking about this, about biochar. We're going to take a break. And what time are we coming back, Nicole? 15 minutes-ish?
We'll go 10 so we can end on time today.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. 10-minute break.
I like to end on
Yeah.
time, Alan.
Yeah.
It's like, everybody's like,
Great.
but we want food.
Yeah, come check out.
My solution to that is very simple. We have breakfast starting at 7.
Yeah.
Start teaching at 8. Simple solution.
So this is cooled off if you want to feel what happens.
Take their vacation to be here.